There's this feeling around, isn't there? A sense that, well, the financial world we sort of know is shifting. You hear all this talk, trade wars, tariffs, geopolitical stuff constantly bubbling up. It definitely creates a mood of, let's say, uncertainty.
It really does. And that's the backdrop for what we're looking at today, how one specific asset is being seen in the middle of all this change.
Exactly. So we're doing a deep dive into an article. It's called Navigating the Global Shift, The Role of Gold. Came out May 2025 by Doug Young. And the mission really, for you listening, is to try and get why this article argues gold is becoming this beacon of safety.
Right. So let's jump in. The piece starts off strong, basically saying there was a massive change happening. It uses phrases like seismic change, pretty dramatic stuff. What jumped out at you about that framing?
For me, it was the scale implied. Calling it a once-in-a-generation event, I mean, that really sets a tone. And this idea, it's causing confusion and cognitive dissonance that suggests maybe the old rules don't quite fit anymore. Creates unease, naturally.
Yeah, that disorientation is key, I think. The article seems to say that this feeling of a big systemic shift is exactly why people, and actually central banks too, are rethinking things. They're looking for, safer ground. It's not just tweaking things, it's like a fundamental reassessment.
And a huge part of that reassessment that the article points out is this growing question around the U.S. dollar. I mean, its role as the world's main reserve currency, that's been bedrock for ages. Now, there are doubts. That's significant.
Oh, absolutely. The article talks about increasing skepticism about the dollar's dominance. It mentions diversification of reserves, countries maybe not wanting all their eggs in the dollar basket anymore, and a wider reevaluation of global economic structures. It's not saying the dollar's finished tomorrow, but maybe that its singular grip is loosening. What do you think is driving that diversification?
Well, the article connects it straight to geopolitics, doesn't it? It says these tensions, shifting alliances, they make trust and confidence incredibly important in the money system. If countries are, less sure about each other or about a currency's future, where do they turn?
Exactly. And that's where the article argues gold's status as a trusted asset becomes really relevant. It's physical, it's tangible, it isn't directly tied to, say, one government's decisions or economic health. It has that history, right?
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that safe haven idea more. The article puts a lot of weight on gold in this role. What's the actual evidence it gives?
Well, the most compelling point, I think, is that central banks, the big players managing national reserves, are actively buying more gold. They're diversifying their reserves by increasing their gold holdings. That's a pretty big tell. These institutions aren't typically chasing quick profits. They make strategic long-term plays. What does that signal to you?
It suggests even the big, stable institutions are seeing a shift, right? And the article links it to wanting tangible assets. Maybe in a world that's so digital, so complex financially, there's this pullback towards something solid, something you can actually hold.
Precisely. And then the article makes a connection between that preference and the broader economic worries, specifically mounting global debt levels and these persistent concerns about inflation. How does gold fit into that picture, according to the piece?
It's positioned as like insurance against economic instability. That's the phrase used.
Yeah.
The idea is if your currency might lose value because of inflation, or if huge debts create risk in the system, gold tends to hold its own. It's seen as a way to retain value in times of crisis, and the article mentions its historical role as a wealth preserver. It's got centuries of track record, kind of.
That history really matters, doesn't it? Its value across different times, different empires. It adds weight to why people see it as a safe haven now. It's not just some new trend. It taps into something older, something about enduring value when things feel shaky.
Right. And what about individual investors? The article says they're also reacting. They're reevaluating their strategies. What's the main change in how they're thinking, according to Young?
It seems the focus is shifting, for some at least, toward preserving wealth amid uncertainty, maybe less about just chasing the highest possible returns. People are looking for reliable options, especially when, like the article says, trust is in short supply, and gold being tangible with that history. Well, it seems to tick that box for quite a few. Why do you reckon that history provides so much comfort, even now?
Good question. So, okay, if we boil it all down, what's the core message from Doug Young here? What's the main takeaway about gold's role right now?
I think the central point is that gold's becoming more and more important as a trusted store of value
Yeah.
and a hedge against instability during this whole global financial shift. It really pushes this idea of gold as maybe the ultimate exit strategy, offering stability and security when things feel unstable, a return to basics almost.
It definitely gives you something to think about. This whole idea of a major systemic shift. It's big. And the article certainly makes a case for why something like gold might seem more appealing in that kind of environment.
It does. And it leaves you, the listener, with a pretty important question, I think. As these old financial structures get questioned, what does that mean for how you think about stability, about keeping your wealth secure down the road? It definitely pushes us to consider what really underpins financial security today.